If you don't know me, I am Nick, and I'm, well, a guy that has put my body through all kinds of training: strongman, powerlifting, rock climbing, bodybuilding, and distance running. And after years of experimenting with diet alongside my training, I would like to present to you my diet approach for staying shredded, satiated, and functional year round. Nowadays, as we race through the grocery stores, there are millions of options and an obvious question: what should I spend my hard-earned or my parents' hard-earned money on? As the author David writes in the famous Psalms 23, we are walking through the valley of the shadow of death, except this valley is a finely waxed commercial floor and we are trapped by walls filled with Cool Ranch, Doritos, and Sprite. Today, the shepherd is guiding you like a sheep in the correct direction, away from the Cool Ranch, chicken, and rice, into a fully functional, nutritionally balanced approach. Now, I enjoy metaphors. I really enjoy them. In fact, my favorite teacher of all time was big on parables. One used in a collection of books that he was involved in gave this example of a foundation on which one builds their life. And there are various materials that the man can build with, such as gold, silver, costly stones, wood, hay, or straw. Now, we have here 6 potential materials to build with. 4 are good, 2 being hay or straw would be pretty impractical to build with. And I would like to adapt this model to dieting. Now, there are certain things your body needs to build muscle and to function, certain building blocks, vitamin, minerals, nutrients. And these are our solid materials to build a house with. Then there are things that we could eat that in no way contribute to our health and actually directly damage our health. So let's say if you're building a house, you have framed the first door with wood, and then you decided to have someone show up with 50 bales of hay and dump it all throughout your construction zone. A very foolish man would think this is helping and rejoice that there are more building materials. A wiser man would realize that the construction of the house is actually being slowed down because all this extra material isn't actually contributing to the building that needs to take place. Now, I will take you through 6 layers I have put together of materials for dieting, and the first 4 layers will be good. The final 2 will be terrible for muscle building in progress. So let's start in layer 1. This would be our literal perfect materials. And really this category will consist of one thing: red meat, specifically grass-fed red meat. Now, if you don't know what red meat is, it comes in multiple forms, though it generally starts off as a 4-footed creature grazing in the fields, such as cows, elk, bison, or lamb. Now, if God gave us a multivitamin, it would have to be red meat produced through good old Betsy's digestive tract. 1 pound of just 80-20 ground beef will give you over half your daily B vitamins, all the iron, selenium, zinc you need, and it also has high dose of copper, potassium, vitamins A, E, and D. Now, beef liver is even more nutritionally dense than this food, and if you don't want to buy it, the supplements still have huge benefits. Beef is your best friend. Well, it's my best friend, at least, and I love her even if she's a little on the chunkier side. Put in other words, do not stray from beef fat. The fat is part of the perfect structure of this wonderful building material. Unless it's in the liver, you do not want fatty liver. That's bad. I also put butter in as what is going to be our most ideal or perfect cooking material. There really isn't anything else that is so perfect as butter for cooking food. The quarter stick of butter I eat every day has me feeling like I could be in Uchiha and a stare-off. So yeah. Going on to layer 2, these are also going to be foundational building blocks. We're going to start with raw milk. It's an illegal superfood, probably because if we started fully utilizing good old Betsy, we would have a bunch of super soldiers marching the streets heavily armed with big guns, right? Big guns, dang. Now, raw milk mass doses calcium. It has a ton of vitamin A and D, but the biggest benefit of this food is going to be there's a ton of digestive enzymes and nutrients that help restore the gut biome, which means it aids in digestion. And going back to our house model, this is going to create a perfect cleaning construction zone by getting rid of clutter. Now, even better than raw milk is fermented raw milk, raw kefir, for example. Now, some other dang near perfect foods: raw cheese, pasture-raised eggs. Pasture-raised eggs. Another superfood which literally has huge dose of calcium, zinc, selenium, phosphorus, magnesium, choline, and iron. Now, if you were to get an app called Chronometer, which is a pretty cool app that just lets you throw in and see all your micronutrient needs, you'd see that just from raw milk, beef, and eggs, you would have 70% of your needs fulfilled for all of your dietary needs. Now, I have a layer titled here 2.5, so I guess an extra layer. Why? You might be saying to yourself, does this guy think I have $50 a day to spend on these obnoxiously expensive organic foods? No, I don't think you have that much money because I don't have that much money, so don't fret. Here is our alternative, and it's still an amazing building material. Grain-fed red meat and caged eggs. A little lower nutrients, still ideal for building a diet model around. Heading to layer 3. These are other good building materials, not perfect, but still good. I've started this section with fruit. Now, fruit does not, in fact, kill you. I know, big whoop. I listed a few out here on the screen of just fruit. And all our foods up to this point don't provide fiber. Fruit does provide fiber. It also provides a good dose of potassium and vitamin C. Considerations when it comes to fruit is they're almost always going to contain pesticides. These are weird chemicals that poison our bodies. Even organic fruits have them, and that's why you should probably soak your fruits in baking soda for a good 10 to 15 minutes and rinse them before eating them. So now I would advise looking into oxalate content also in your fruits. Oxalates just cause the body to bind calcium and can cause kidney stones. An example of a high oxalate fruit is raspberries. So it may not be perfect, but in the spirit of diet, experimentation is key. And at the end of the video, I'm going to explain how you can start experimenting on a pretty basic level. The point is, diet models are very personalized. High fructose is also something to consider. For example, apples. When I eat apples, I have this special tingling in my liver that tells me something is wrong. I've also put fermented vegetables. If you don't know, vegetables are roots and leaves, and they have many defense chemicals in them that are quite terrible for the human body and can cause bloating and other issues. Indigestion is the number one thing we want to avoid when it comes to aesthetics or athletic endeavors, unless, of course, we're competitive eaters, strongman, golfers, or just Michael Phelps. Anyway, when it comes to vegetables, a lot of the indigestible components, such as oxalates, can be removed through boiling or fermentation. But if you boil, say, sweet potatoes, the water will contain oxalates and the other things we want to get rid of, so you want to discard the water. Therefore, if you're cooking something like a soup, consider cooking the vegetables separately, discarding the water, then adding it to your soup. Another fine food I've put in here is pasture-raised chicken that has been left to roam. Now, this is not a replacement for red meat, not even remotely, though having it a few times a week will not kill you and doesn't have any dramatic downsides. I also recommend having a little fish for omega-3 fatty acids. Farm-raised salmon is often colored and contains more contaminants than its wild counterpart. I don't advise more than maybe 1 to 2 servings weekly, as salmon and seafood in general have a lot of heavy metal contaminants. So be careful also if you want to supplement omega-3. By the time a lot of these supplements get to you, the fats in them are rancid, which means it's actually going to have adverse effects. It's not going to be beneficial. Now, the final 2 things I've put in this good category are pasteurized cheese and quality cocoa powder, such as the one Brian Johnson's released. A lot of these generic brand cocoa powders have a ton of heavy metal contaminants. So if you want to know why Grumpy is so grumpy, he tragically purchased the lowest quality cocoa powder on the market, and the lead in it made his hair fall out. So he had to join Snow White in her collection and posse of short dudes. So now that we have some solid food choice to choose from, let's go over some foods that are on the fence between good and bad. So this is layer 4. This is one where you're really going to want to experiment. I'm going to start off with white rice. Now, white rice is a tricky thing. It has no really indigestible components, but it has a ton of glucose, which is a sugar. So you could potentially store some in your liver, some fat in your liver, if you eat too much of it. With any food, say white rice, I recommend you see how you respond to it. When I was 16, could manage 4 to 5 cups of white rice a day. And now, after having a fatty liver, I can't even have 1, but it's individual, so see how you respond. Of course, if you go to your therapist, who's actually supposed to be your nutritionist, and you tell them that you release your trauma by putting your body through these back-breaking workout routines, they might very well say, you know what, maybe you should eat a little white rice. Maybe that would calm you down. Now, 2 alternatives I have found personally to the white rice for an easy carb source: raw milk with maple syrup and cocoa powder, or having some dates with warm butter. These are slightly better than white rice, and I respond to them better. So see what you do. The next thing I've put in this category of on the fence is meats other than beef, such as caged chicken, turkey, pork. Now I put lean pork. I don't recommend having fatty pork. It has a ton of weird toxins that the pig wasn't able to get out of their system. Goodness gracious, I can't talk today. So yeah, I've also put in this category fruit juice. Now, no matter who you are, I recommend having this in like extreme moderation. Make sure also there's no additives. I don't know why these cocktail of juices exist. They say just cranberry, and then you look in the back and it's like, okay, it's actually like grape juice, orange juice, apple juice, and a little bit of cranberry juice. So check the labels. Now, fructose in juice pretty much is shot straight into your liver. There's no fiber to stop it like there is in whole fruit. So you might get a fatty liver. I would know because I drank like a gallon of orange juice a day every day when I was 16. And yeah, there's this one day I thought I was having a heart attack. I literally thought my heart was going to explode. And all my blood felt like it was boiling. Turns out I just had a fatty liver and my liver failed. So be careful with sugary beverages. Have things in moderation. More calories does not mean more muscles. You do not add calories and gain muscle. You train and then your body needs more calories. Now, if you don't think this is important, this is a very important distinction because one will cause you to gain fat and the other will cause you to lean tissue. So do not just add calories hoping to gain muscle. Train and then your body will naturally eat more. I've also put in this category pasteurized milk. Now, if you do not know this, when you go to a store and you buy these generic milks, they're homogenized. That means they shoot them through a tiny tube to break up the fat, which damages its quality. They also then pasteurize it. They heat treat it, killing a lot of the live enzymes that make raw milk so good for you. Therefore, a lot of people can't process store-bought milk that is homogenized and pasteurized because it has a ton of lactose and has no enzymes in it to help you digest. So when you drink it, you might have bloating and inflammation in your stomach because it's trying to process all that lactose. Now, if you don't have a problem with it, then go for it. You know, some people can drink 8 cups of pasteurized milk a day and they're all good. I feel like I'm going to die after 1 cup. That's just me. Now, no matter what, though, I would still recommend trying to get raw milk. It's still going to be better for you. Now, if you can't find it, though, and you have a little extra money to spend, you can go into like your Trader Joe's or Whole Foods or New Seasons, and they will have likely a milk in there that is lightly pasteurized and non-homogenized. So, better than the fully processed version. Otherwise, dairy can still be a good source for calcium. Though if you can find it without lactose, so if you can find it like in the form of a hard cheese or yogurt that have been fermented and therefore have a lot less lactose, that's ideal. Anyway, let's get to the next thing. I've put on here some carb sources that are controversial, probably not perfect, though I would recommend experimenting with them. Buckwheat, potatoes, and sourdough bread mainly. Now, I don't recommend building your diet model around these no matter what, but having them a few times a week is not going to destroy you and could be a good method. Now, I do not recommend normal bread. I specifically put sourdough because it's fermented and can aid in digestion. Probably one of the worst things you could eat that will be the most disruptive to your system, though it tastes good and might make you feel good initially, is bread. It will actually stop a lot of nutrients from being absorbed. Now, in this category, I also put macadamia nuts are fine. They're probably the best nut and you can experiment with it. I got an entire email asking specifically about macadamia nuts, so I thought I would mention that. Layer 5, we're venturing into don't eat this stuff. This is soy boy category. Stuff is literal hate. It will totally mess up your digestion. Starting with raw vegetables. Guys, salads are a scam. No joke. They're a literal scam. It's just a bunch of toxins that bloat your stomach mixed with oils that are rancid. Also, do not eat most nuts. Soy is terrible for you. Beans will bloat your stomach. And protein powders. Now, I put protein powders. Don't get triggered. If you have like a really high-end, high-quality protein powder, that'd be better than just skipping meals. But a lot of these things are heavily contaminated, and protein itself, just random isolates, are really overemphasized in terms of their importance as compared to all the other nutrients the body needs. So, yeah. You can have some protein powder, though. I'm just saying, I put it so low on the list because I don't think a diet model should be built around it, and I think it is a last case type thing. Anyway, don't eat brown rice. Brown rice is bad. It'll blow your stomach. Also, stay away from processed sugars, seafood. Seafood has a lot of heavy metal contaminants. And then let's get to layer 6. This is our literal poison category. This stuff is like lava on your beautiful wood framed house. Versus seed oils. I've listed a few here. Do not eat seed oils. This is like the number one thing that will kill your gains over time. Check your food labels. If they have any of these oils, just it says something oil, do not buy it. Also, if you go to a restaurant, go to like a barbecue house or something, go to somewhere where they don't cook in oils. That oil, even just one time every 2 or 3 days, just will ruin you. Like, it's so bad. So bad. I kid you not. Some other things to avoid: high gluten foods, gum additives, artificial sweeteners, and oats. We can go into science, but I don't believe in science, because if I believed in science, I would not be allowed to believe in Santa Claus. I'm not willing to do that. In terms of digestion, I did want to cover a few more practical things. We're on to the next thing. First is chew your food more deliberately. A lot of your potential troubles could simply be you're scarfing your food down like my dog, Dude. I've had young men come to my house. I make us both the exact same meal. I'm a quarter of the way through and I look at their plate and they're licking it clean. Like, it's totally gone. You need to chew your food at least 30 to 40 times. Something like steak, maybe more. You need food in your mouth for a while you're chewing so that it's soaked in saliva, which has digestive enzymes in it. You cannot skip this portion of digestion. Now, after the saliva comes the stomach acid, and this is where you want to think about water. Do not drink water immediately before or during or even right after your meals. You want to separate water from your meals by at least an hour. Otherwise, you're going to dilute your stomach acid. And this itself, just this one thing, could be seriously destroying your digestion and even lead to less gains over time. Now, when it comes to meal timing, pretty much under no circumstances should you be eating right before sleep. You need a bare minimum of a good 3 hours between your final meal and sleeping, ideally more than 3 hours. The body realistically gets the highest sleep quality from around 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. And when you ingest food at 10 p.m., you're elevating your heart rate and your body is working to digest food. You in these conditions most literally cannot enter correct sleep. So if you're wondering why you seem to be doing everything right, you're eating all the right foods, but you're simply not gaining weight or progressing, this could very well be a reason. I mean, me personally, from 14 to 17, I literally could not sleep. I would sit in my bed for 4 to 7 hours wide awake. I had to drop out of in-person school. And I thought I had some kind of medical condition. Turns out I was just eating right before I tried to go to sleep. And so my body physically could not fall asleep, even though I was eating ideal foods. Also, when it comes to eating, separate your meals out. Guys, OMAD is not ideal. 1 meal a day is not ideal. Cramming a ton of meat and fruit and eggs and rice and having a little bit of juice all at one time just doesn't make any sense. You're going to store all the sugar in your liver and you're going to have a bunch of visceral fat. And then your body needs protein every few hours. Anyway, it can't really store it. So you want to have at the very least 2 meals if you're trying to optimize hypertrophy. You can still even intermittent fast. But if you could split your meals to 3, that's fine. Now, when it comes to water, you want filtered water. The water we have, especially a lot of our faucet water, is contaminated. It has lead, it has fluoride, it has all kinds of things we do not want. So either buy a water filter or start buying spring water from the store. Now, after filtering, you want to remineralize your water. You can buy a remineralization mix, or you can get like an electrolyte mix. Either is fine. Now, more water does not inherently mean more hydration. Just drinking more and more water when you aren't thirsty will likely dehydrate you, especially if that water does not have it's not remineralized and doesn't have an electrolyte mix. It will literally just be stripping electrolytes from your system. Not good. Now, this will lead to the next point, which is salt. And if you don't know this, you need a lot of salt. It's extremely good for you to have a lot of salt. I believe you should invest into a high-quality salt, though. Maybe Celtic sea salt or Jacobson's, since low-quality salts have been shown to have a ton of lead contaminants. They put anti-caking agents, all kind of stuff that will just destroy your stomach. A lot of these store-brand salts, they've been tested, and it shows that just getting your daily salt from them will have more lead than the maximum tolerable limit for your body, not to mention lead and contaminants in other parts of your food. So get a quality salt. Anyway, when it comes to supplements, let's just quickly cover this. We have magnesium and iodine as pretty regular deficiencies. And, well, if you want to see what you're deficient in just from dietary means, a decent way to see or get an idea of what nutrients are in what foods, you can get this app called Chronometer and track your foods for a few days. Now, let me give you a quick rundown of how to make your own diet model to end off this video. I'd like to start with some basic, simple guidelines. Your best bet is to start with red meat and eggs. You know your caloric needs better than me, so you'll know how much to have, but let's say you have around a pound of beef and 3 to 6 eggs daily. You cook it in some butter and have about anywhere from 2 to 4 teaspoons of salt. That's anywhere from 4 to 8 grams. I am in no way saying this is an ideal diet model. This is a template. Templates are made to be adjusted and experimented with. They're not an end-all be-all. Maybe you start with more ground beef or less. Maybe you have no eggs. Maybe you start with half a gallon of raw milk. The point is to constantly try things and see how you respond. Maybe you try adding 2 cups of blueberries one day, or you add 6 dates one day, or you have one day where you have a few chicken legs or some lean pork. Maybe you try adding some pasteurized milk, and then you have the most severe stomach pain of your entire life, or maybe you feel like $1 million after it. Experiment, guys. That's the mindset. Maybe you try having a cup of rice with your steak. You feel amazing. But no matter what, it's going to take time to find the perfect diet model. And I don't think a perfect diet model is one where you eat necessarily the same foods every day, but rather you have a good range of foods to pick from that you thoroughly enjoy, that are healthy, and that you know don't cause you bloating or gas or to get sick or just straight up destroy your sleep. Now, once you have your foods picked out, you have a good sense of how you respond to things. This is where I recommend calorie manipulation. And I have a video explaining that and explaining my fasting method for bulking and cutting. I guess that's the end of it. So thank you for watching. I hope you got something out of this. Know that any knowledge you got from me comes from the Lord Jesus Christ. My knowledge and my wisdom come from him exclusively. And I hope you have a great day. God bless all of you. I really appreciate you watching to the end.